皆さん、こんにちは。JetBrains 日本担当の堀岡です。本日もですね、JetBrains のウェビナー、JetBrains Rider で Unreal Engine C++ 開発を快適にということで、始めていきたいと思います。今日のアジェンダなんですけれども、最初にこの、ウェビナーについて簡単に紹介して、その後ですね、メインのパートである、マットからのJetBrains Rider ですね。これを Unreal Engine の C++ 開発でどう、うまく活用するかっていう、内容ですね。これ録画になるんですけれども、日本語字幕付きで、紹介させていただければと思います。で、その後ですね、クイズと Q&A セッションを、やりたいと思います。で、今回、開催しているウェビナーなんですけれども、ゲーム開発向けウェビナーの、第2回目になります。で、実は先週ですね、Unity C# スクリプト作成を快適にということで、開催しました。これはですね、すでに録画が JetBrains の YouTube チャンネルに上がっているので、もし興味がありましたら、こちらもご覧ください。で、3回目なんですけれども、こちら2月16日に開催しますので、こちらのライダーフローっていう、Unity 向けのですね、無料のプラグインがあるんですけれども、こちらをフィーチャーしたものになりますので、もしこちらの方もご興味ありましたら、参加登録をお願いします。はい。ではですね、今日なんですけれども、スピーカー、マットの方が、Q&A の方も参加しますので、ちょっと一言自己紹介してもらえればと思います。So, Matt, can you say hello and maybe introduce yourself briefly?
Yes, hi everyone. Nice to be here. My name is Matt and I'm a developer advocate at JetBrains, and I'm looking forward to talking to you all about Rider and Unreal. So please send us some questions and we'll get to it in the Q&A.
Thank you very much. それではですね、進めていきますけれども、このセッション中にですね、いろんな質問とか、ありましたら、YouTube の方のチャットウィンドウ、またはですね、Twitter の方で、ハッシュタグ、#JetBrains道場っていうので、こちらハッシュタグつけていただくと、こちらの方で、見て、いるので、質問とか取り上げて、後の Q&A セッションで、回答したいと思います。あとですね、いただいた質問とか、フィードバックは、まとめてですね、ブログポストの方でも、掲載したいと思っています。でですね、ちょっと一つ重要なお知らせというか、このセッションの中にクイズを行います。で、クイズがですね、実は2回チャンスがありまして、これ当選、正解の方はですね、ライダーの個人向けサブスクリプション1年分が当たるというクイズで、回答していただく方法がですね、質問が2回あって、回答していただく方法が、1回目は YouTube のチャット、2回目は Twitter の方で回答を募集していますので、もしよろしければご参加ください。あとですね、本日のウェビナー、これ録画されておりまして、後日というか、終了後、JetBrains の YouTube チャンネルで公開いたします。はい。それではですね、動画の方、始めていきたいと思います。
Hello everyone, thank you all for joining. My name is Matt, and today we're going to be talking about Rider for Unreal Engine, and I'm going to show you how Rider can help you turn your Unreal game ideas into reality by working great with your Unreal Engine projects. So what is Rider? Rider is an IDE. It's for working with your code, your C++ and your Unreal projects. It's been around for a little while. It works with C# as well in your Unity and game dev, Godot game dev projects. But today we're going to concentrate on the C++ support it's got in there. Great features to help you work with your C++ projects, and lots of Unreal Engine specific inspections and features as well. So we'll dive in and we'll have a look. But before we get started, we have to tell Unreal how we can use Rider. So I've got Unreal up and running here. If I just go straight to the preferences and select the source code item in the preferences there, we now get to choose what Unreal is going to use for its source code editor. We can just click the drop down here and we get several choices of what's installed already on my computer. and you can see I've got several different versions of Rider. And if I just want to select the latest version, I can click this one which says Rider. You'll notice it says U project here, and this is because Rider can work with the Visual Studio generated code project files, or it can use the U project files directly. This is great when you're working cross-platform. So if you want to work on a Mac or Linux, you can actually open the U project files directly without having to have any Visual Studio files generated at all. You'll notice that today I'm working with Mac, but everything I'm going to show you works just the same with Windows. Okay, so that's nice and simple. We tell Unreal, for what source code editor to use, and we're good to go. If we double click on a file now, it will open up in Rider itself. So let's switch over to Rider. And this is what you get when you open Rider. You can see that we've got a project view on the left-hand side showing us our game and also the engine source files. And I think before we go any further, it's probably worth pointing out that the first time you open a project with Rider for Unreal, Rider will index all of your code. It will build an index so to make it very easy to navigate around your code, to find items, to find inspections and find issues with your code. And so it'll run through for a minute or so and index all of your code. But one thing we do straight up there is we notice that it is an Unreal project. And so we will index your game code first and then the engine code later. So as soon as the game code is finished, we'll show a little notification. You can get on with your working with your code and we'll index the engine in the background. Once the index has been built the first time, then it is kept up to date incrementally. So only the small changes to files will need to be re-indexed, and you won't notice this going forward. Okay, so that's Rider all set up. One last little thing here is this nice little tool window. This little window in the toolbar up here is comes from a plugin called EasyArgs. And that is very useful for adding extra arguments to your command lines when you want to run it there. You can just type these in here, and you also get nice command line completion as well. So I can set up a useful command line to run as I'm running my project. So that's a little plugin to Rider called EasyArgs, which is very useful. Also, the first time when you when you open a project in Rider, Rider will install a Rider link. Well, it'll prompt you to install a plugin into your game called Rider Link. This is a useful plugin now, which will allow us to integrate deeply with the editor here. And I'll show you some of these useful features as we go through. But this will quickly install the plugin into your project. It'll compile it, and it will be available for the next time you run the editor. So we've got our game up and loaded into Rider. What are the things we can do here, and what makes it so useful? So obviously we've got our game listed in the project view here, and we can navigate around. We can click on items and open those up, and we get nice syntax highlighted files. But we can do a bit better than that. We've got an index built of the whole project, so I can use the keyboard shortcut Shift. So if I hit Shift twice, I get this search everywhere dialog. There's a lot of functionality in Rider, and there are two keyboard shortcuts you want to learn, two main keyboard shortcuts. This is the first one. If you use Shift, you can get to anywhere in your code. So you use Shift, you get this search everywhere dialog, and then you can just start typing. So if I just start typing for player, it will filter everything down by the word player. And this will search for files, it will search for classes, it will also search for symbols. So you can see here I've got my CPP and H files. Oops, I didn't actually want to navigate there. But you've also got symbols as well. So I can see the symbols here. So I've got a player field, which is being used in level sequence director.h. And also I've got symbols from an enum type there as well. And I can very quickly navigate around, and you can see the project view on the left now is automatically jumping to the files that I want. Let's close that down because we don't need that anymore. So Shift is great. I can just start typing shooter, player, controller. I don't have to type the whole word. It will find things for me, and I can just do things by initial letters as well, SPC for shooter player controller. I can hit tab as well, and I can go and search just for classes, or I can search just for files, and also just for symbols. There are a couple of other options here as well. I can search for actions, and this is a great way to help find your way around the IDE. So if you're new and you can't remember where something was in the menus, just use Shift and use the search for actions. So if I want to search for highlight, for example, I can move to different highlighted items, and I can even go to the preferences for the highlighting. Let's just say if I want to do a rename here, and I can't remember what the keyboard shortcut is for rename, I just type rename there, and there, go to actions, I've got the rename action. It helpfully gives me the keyboard shortcut, and if I select it, then I get the option to rename the item. A great way of trying to find the things that you're looking for. Actions, you can even see that there's options there for refactorings and everything there. I can change these actions in the code. If you want to search for text, you can also use the text tab here to find text. Okay, so lots of great navigation functionality around. Let's jump to shooter character movement.cpp. So once you are in your code, there's lots of things you can do. We've got the usual sort of features that you'd expect. I can just start typing, and I'm going to get code completion. And again, I don't have to type everything perfectly. I can use the initial letters like SCO for shooter character owner, and that will complete for me. But we do lots of nice things here as well. So if I can't remember whether I need to access my members here with a dot or with an arrow, I can just use either one and it will fix it up for me. So if I use dot, it'll give me the code completion list, but it will fix it then up to use the arrow operator instead. So of course I can look at all of the items that I've got in my completion list, so I can choose whichever thing is there, and I can just start typing and it will narrow those down and I can select. So lots of great code completion features going on there. Another thing which is really nice that Rider has for code completion, again, it's all about making you a little bit faster and a little bit more productive with your environment. As you can see, I've got a couple of include statements already in use here, but if in my code I want to use something like f instant weapon data, you can see in the completion it says that it's being declared in a different header. And if I select that now, not only will it complete the item for me, but it tells me, gives me a little pop-up saying that the shooter weapon instant.h file has been included for me. So it's very smart. Because we built this index of your entire project and the entire game engine, we can use that to suggest types which aren't even included in the file yet and automatically include them for you. So the other useful keyboard shortcut that we have to show is Alt-Enter. And you can notice now that there are some underlines going on here, which showing you that there are some inspections and that Rider has found something that can be modified for you, and it's giving you an indication that there's something you can do here. And if we hover over this indicator here, this highlight, we get to see that the variable can be moved to an if statement, and I can use Alt and Enter. This is my second keyboard shortcut. So Shift can navigate me to anywhere. Alt-Enter is about doing things when you get there. And Alt-Enter can fix up these inspections for me, and it can do things like move the variable to an if statement. And Rider can then very quickly rewrite that code and fix it up so that your code is working a lot nicer. And we've got thousands of these inspections. They will look for all different sorts of things to do with your C++ code. Look for potential null references or errors or mistakes that are going on there, and also things like syntax errors and style issues as well. So another thing you can do with the Alt-Enter menu is that there's another way. If you use it just anywhere, even when there isn't a highlight, then you get a couple of options: navigate to, refactor this, inspect, and generate code. And all of these allow you to do very useful things. So for example, I can refactor, and here I can inline a variable or rename. So if I wanted to very quickly rename a variable, you can see that it's now updated the variable everywhere it's being used in this file there. So that's a very quick and safe way of using it. If I had shooter character owner used somewhere else in this file, which didn't relate to this symbol, then it would not be changed. So this is more accurate than a simple find and replace with text. Let's just undo that, put that back to normal. Other items that we've got here are things like navigate to. And Rider has a load of useful navigations to allow you to go and find where your code is being used, where it's defined, where it's declared, and all sorts of things. So for example, from here, let's go down here to this one. If I go to Alt-Enter and navigate to, the first item is declaration, and that will take me back up to where this variable is being defined. And I can also do a similar sort of thing with Control-Click, and that will navigate me to the item as well. I can do that on members, so I can navigate to the is running or to the get running speed modifier, and I can very quickly navigate around and find items. Another thing that's useful in my navigate to menu is this find usages, and this will show me everywhere that this symbol is being used across the project. This is a local variable, so it's only being used in this file, but you can see I can click through and I can see where it's being used. If I do the same on the big class itself, I can go to navigate to and do find usages, and it'll show me that then across the whole file. We can see it's being used in the CPP file here, and we can see actually the types of items as well. There's the types of usage, sorry. We can see we've got nested symbol definitions there, new instant creation, and I'm going to come back to this one, and then template arguments as well. You can see, so you can see how it's being used as well as where it's being used. Okay, so let's very quickly then that's a very quick look at some of the C++ features that we've got and the standard sort of features that we have with Rider for Unreal. Let's have a look at some Unreal specific features. So we've got a lot of these inspections, which will give you the highlights in your code and the Alt-Enter to fix it all up. But we've got a whole bunch of things which are very Unreal specific there as well. So if I just go over to shooter player state, that's the one, then we can see here now, obviously we are in a an Unreal class. We've got the uClass macro defining the reflection macros going on there. And we can see here now this is called a shooter player state. So we know that that is the standard naming convention that we use for Unreal classes, and Rider knows this too. So if I change that to be something like P shooter player class, player state, then we get a warning straight away. We get an error to tell us that this is actually the wrong naming standard. So the name P shooter player state violates Unreal Engine's coding standard rules for actors and will lead to a build error. So it actually tells us the suggested name is to add an A prefix there, and we can actually use the quick fixes to rename to a player state. And we can do a similar sort of feature for object-based items as well. Now, if I just jump to another file for reflection macros, I've got a whole lot of demos here then. This is the way that Rider understands the reflection macros that are being used all over the place for Unreal's blueprint support. And we can see we've got lots of help items there for not just the macro there, but for also the values that are being used inside the macros for the keys. So I can put the cursor on config and press F1, and it'll show me a little quick documentation tooltip, which explains what's going on there. I can do the same then for experimental. I'll also get completion of the items as I start typing there, so I can find all sorts of things. I can find optional, and I can add those in. And as I'm typing that, let me just do that again. If I hover there for a second, we'll get the documentation as part of the code completion. And let's just delete that. And if we go a little bit further down, we've got more understanding of what's going on here as well. So we get we get completion and documentation for items in the U property and U function macros as well, and so we can see the items that are being used there. And again, I can do code completion here, and I get the completion and the quick fixes. I want those back up. And in fact, things like if you're using U function but you don't actually have it applied to anything, then it's going to be redundant, and Rider will gray it out and then tell me that it doesn't actually declare anything. So I can use Alt-Enter again. So again, Alt-Enter being my very important keyboard shortcut for doing things. And Alt-Enter will allow me to remove the document, remove the declaration, and will tidy up my code for me. We have plenty more interesting inspections there as well. So if you are trying to use a struct, but you've got a class, then Rider will tell you that the macro is wrong there. It must be declared on a class. And all of these things are very useful because they tell you the errors before you actually run them. And so it's giving you the errors in the editor before you run, and it'll speed things up there, and it gives you a better feedback loop, a better build debug cycle, so that you spend less time fixing errors because they're happening and being told about it as you're typing. And so we've got a few more useful things in there, including templates for creating a new U class. So I can create a new class and give it a new base object, base definition there, and very quickly generate items for me there. Yep, and it's telling me that my naming standard is incorrect in this case, and that I should actually be using UF macros. Okay, so let's just delete that, and let's move on to a different file, because not only do we understand about the reflection macros, but we'll also run the Unreal header tool over your files as you type as well. So we will make sure that Unreal header tool is just working on the file that you're working on, and as it runs, it will look for errors, and we will report those directly in the editor. So for example, here I've got a property here of health, and I say that there's a blueprint getter for it, but I haven't defined that function. So there is no get health function, and so then the Unreal header tool will report that, and we will then show that in the editor. Again, this happens before you try and compile. So this is a compile time error as you are typing. And of course, if I then create my get health function, the error to say that it is missing goes away. But now I'm saying that I've got a replicated function, but it's got a return value. So again, Unreal header tool giving you useful information before you actually compile. We have a couple more of these. Things like blueprint assignable, only allowed on multicast delegate properties. So again, giving you the chance to fix this error before you start compiling. Let's just see. Yes, and things like using an invalid enum type for, an invalid base type for an enum. Again, the idea of this is just to make you faster to work with the code that you've got without having to compile first. Okay, one more demo file we've got here. Rider really understands how you work with RPC functions as well, so your remote procedure call functions. And we will provide help. We understand that there are related functions and how they relate then to the macros as well. So, for example, if we've got a function here called client game started, we then get a warning to say that the implementation method isn't actually, implementation function isn't actually implemented. And I can right click and do generate definition. We'll jump into the related CPP file, and it will create the implementation for me. I can very quickly use this gutter icon here to jump between the two. I can do the same with Alt-Enter. Again, Alt-Enter is my action shortcut, and I can very quickly jump between the two. We've got a similar feature here then for if we've got validation as well. We can say that the implementation function is missing, as is the validate. And if I do generate on there, I end up with 2 new functions generated for me. Let's just delete these, comment those again so we don't have errors later. Now, if we do a similar thing here, now we've got an implementation method declared inline here. So we then tell us now we've got a validate method missing, and that will generate it for us here. One thing which is nice is once we've got a validate and implementation method function, if I click the button to navigate between the definition and the declaration, I actually get to see that there are multiple methods that I can jump to. So I can jump to not just the implementation of the method, but I can jump to the validate method, and I can jump to the, let's just go to, where is it there? To the related functions as well. Just comment these out so we don't get build errors later. Other really cool integration points we've got with Unreal is around blueprints as well. So blueprints are a very important part of your Unreal Engine project, but we often find that the data in those blueprints is hidden away. So you have to have Unreal Engine running to be able to see what the values are in the editor. And yet you've got your code in your IDE, and there's no relation between the two. So you've got things that are very different. Rider indexes not just the code of your project, but also the blueprints as well. So we get to see where your code is being used inside blueprints, and also what values are being used as part of those blueprints. So if I just go to a class shooter pickup, now you'll notice that there is, so we've got the uClass macro here, so we're defining that it's going to be a blueprint class, but we can notice that we've got this link drawn on the editor surface here, telling us that we've got 3 derived blueprint classes. And if I click this, we actually get to see what those classes are. We can see we've got pickup ammo launcher, pickup ammo gun, and pickup health. These are all blueprint implemented classes. So they're not C++ classes, which are derived from this class, but they're all blueprint defined. And if I click on this, because we've got the integration with Unreal, I just have to swap back. Because we've got the integration with Unreal from that Rider Link project plugin that I mentioned at the start, then Rider can tell the Unity editor to open the blueprint editor for this particular blueprint. So we've got the pickup ammo launcher here, and we can see now that the parent class is shooter pickup ammo that we've already got open. And if I jump back here and I click on my item again, I could go to the pickup health item, and if we go here, then we can see that Unreal has opened the pickup health editor for me as well. Now we can do this items here. So if we do find usages on my items, we can also see, not find usages, sorry. If I go to navigate to and find derived symbols, then we get to see that these items, pickup ammo gun and ammo launcher, are blueprint items. These are shown as derived classes. We've also got some C++ classes as well. So we've got the ability within Rider to go up and down the C++ class hierarchy, but we'll also show you blueprint information there as well. So this is a great way of knowing where your classes are being used as part of blueprint code. If we go down a little bit further, we've got some fields and some properties which are being used by blueprints as well. So for example, we've got respawn time down here, which is a property. And you can see we've got another link written here. We can see that it's being used in assets and in blueprints. And if we click it, we actually get to see what the values are. And we get to see that the value are being set in 2 different blueprints here. The part of ammo launcher.uAsset and pickup ammo gun.uAsset. And we can actually see what the values are as well. We can see that it's being set to 20 in ammo launcher, and it's being set to 5 in ammo gun. So this is brilliant. This is a really cool way of seeing not just where your code is being used, but how your code is being used inside blueprints. So it's joining up the code that you've got in your project with the data that is stored inside the Unreal Engine project. And so I know now that this respawn time is expected to be between 5 and 20 there, and I can use that in my code, and I can say, well, okay, I'm not going to have a longer respawn time, I'm going to have a shorter respawn time. I can see what values are to be useful there. I can do similar sort of things. We're looking at the sound cues there, and I can see what values are being used, which is useful. The particle system is not being changed in any assets in that one. But if I click this one, I get to see the different particle systems that are being used in my in my blueprints. So it's a great way of bringing that data into Rider, and again, making you stopping you having to go into the Unreal editor to be able to see this information. You can find it straight away on the within the Rider IDE. Other useful things which we've got, which integrate nicely with Blueprint, with Unreal, is if I click down here, I've got an Unreal tool window, and this is an editor log, which is nice. I've got all the log values that are in my editor. So if I just go over here and I go to my output log, we can see I've got lots of useful information being shown in the log here as I'm working. This is being replicated and shown in the Rider tool window as well. And we've got some syntax highlighting for different values. So if it's a warning, we highlight that for you. And if it's got a name on there, we can click on it and open up the file. And we've got the same thing with method names and function names and classes. So if I click on this request level, we can see that it's opened up in the editor then. So it's very good. It's a great way then of using the information that's being shown in the Unreal editor, but using that in the IDE where I can get to the code that is useful. And of course, I can filter things down. I can hide my messages. I can hide my warnings and only show errors. Make sure I can see my messages. I can also filter down by different categories as well. So there's a lot of useful information that is being shown in the log that I can actually use as part of my IDE. And the other useful features we've got are in the play controls up at the top here. So you can see we've got a button here for play, and I can flick into play mode. If I click that and swap back to my editor, then we can see I'm now in play mode, and I can also jump back, put it into pause mode, or come out of play mode again as well. Got another drop down here where we can look at the number of players. So if I want to change my play mode settings, I can do that. All the different spawn options and so on, running the dedicated server and all that kind of useful information. If I want to build a project, I've got a button there to build, and I've got a drop down here as well then to show me my different configurations and targets and so on. If I want to, I can bring that up onto the toolbar as well, or I can collapse it down to be a little bit neater. And up at the top right here, then we've got an indicator to show us that I'm running the shooter game already, and we can see that it's currently running, and I can hit the button then to stop the editor as well. So this will now close the editor for me so that we can have a look at debugging. So I was running the game there, and I could just click the run button again to start running, or I can click the debug button then to start debugging. This will now, obviously I've made some changes to the code, so it's going to have to just quickly recompile, and it will make sure everything's up to date and recompile and relaunch the editor in debug mode. Okay, so while that is just rebuilding and loading up, let's jump to a shooter pickup. We'll put a breakpoint in place. Actually, I want the CPP, don't I? Shooter pickup.cpp. Missed. A shooter pickup is shooter pickup. There we go. So if we go to shooter pickup.cpp and I go to, what's the method, on start fire. There it is. Oh no, it's taking me to the header file. So again, I can just click the useful navigate button to jump me to the other one. And if I click in the gutter icon there, I can put us into, I can add a breakpoint. and we should be ready to hit a breakpoint as soon as the build completes, which is taking a minute. Okay, so that took a moment, but now we have launched the editor again in debug mode, and as that starts up, we will get to see the output from the console log. There it goes, and we should see, there we go, splash screen. All starts to load up. Hopefully just take a moment. Okay, and now we are in the editor as before, and we can now click to go into play mode. There we go. Let's launch the game in play mode, and I've got a breakpoint then on start fire, and so if I click the mouse button to fire the weapon there, we immediately hit the breakpoint, and we are now in the debugger. We're back in the editor. I can navigate up and down the call stack as you'd expect. We'll see the disassembly for classes that don't have debug information. If I navigate here, I can go and see code that I do have the debug information for. I can navigate back to my original breakpoint, and I can do just usual expected debugger features there. I can hover over an item there and expand this, and we can see useful information there. So if I expand the player controller, we can see useful information. We can see the rotation speed, for example, which is set there. If I tell you what, let's have a look at this. If I open that out in my expressions window, down the bottom here, we can see we've got a weapon attach point, we've got an F name, and of course then the debugger will correctly expand that. We've got a T array with 2 items in, and we can see the values that are being used in there as well. So we've got the debugger, which understands how to format the Unreal specific classes and work with those there. We can evaluate items as well. So if I do my PC dot, and you see I type in a dot there, but the code will automatically fix those up for me to use the arrow. So again, we've still got the smart editor going on there. And if I select that, we can see then that the value is set to 0 for us there. So I can do that. If I start typing here, I can go and find, there it is, health. My health is currently set to 50. I can right click, use the set value item. If I knock that down to 1, it's been updated in the code there, and I can just click resume. And that will then jump back to there, and we can see now that my player in the top there, he's showing red because his health has dropped down to 1. So it updates the values in memory and starts running again. Right, let's just stop the editor running there. And the last couple of things that I want to show are really quite useful. We've got some unit tests support as well. So if you've got any unit tests in your project there using the Unreal automation framework, we will automatically find those and navigate to allow, display them and allow working with them. We should just be able to click play, and it will run those tests for us in the IDE itself and show us those results. So that's just launching the editor again to be able to run the tests. So let's pop back to the test window. We can see that they're running there with their busy, and we've got some green lights already there as well. And so we'll just run through those tests, run them for us. If there are any errors, we'll see a call stack. We can click the call stack and we can navigate around. Rider also has support for shader files as well. So if we go to screen pixel shader.usf, we can see we've got syntax highlighting there. We've got a similar sort of functionality for control-click navigation. I can control-click inputs or the output color there and navigate around. I can also use my Alt-Enter to refactor and use a name to change the name of the item there, and it will update those features. I can also use control-click on things like the include files. So I can go to my header files there, and I can see the header files that are included as part of the platform. In fact, if I click through, I can just kind of keep on going and look at all the files that are necessary for the platform. So then the last thing to do, let's just close some of these windows down. thing I want to show you is talk a little bit about the project model. So I mentioned earlier that we're using the U project model here. So on a Mac, I'm not using my Visual Studio generated files there. We're loading the .u project files directly. But of course, the information for all these are tied up with C# files as well. And because Rider is a C# IDE, as well as a C++ and navigation that you'd expect there, we've also got a couple of other useful features here as well. So if I'm using modules here, we actually provide code completion for those modules as well. So I can use my, excuse me, we can use code completion then to find these navigations. Let me just add a comma there. And we can also sort of control click then and navigate to where these modules are defined as well. So we get to see not just automatic code completion for the modules, but validation for them as well. So if I type in an unknown module there, we get a warning there to say that unknown is not a name of any module there. So we've got validation, code completion, and navigation all on your module names. And so that really brings me to the end of all the things that I want to show you with Rider for Unreal today. I hope you can see that there's a lot of functionality there, a lot of useful features which are designed to make you more productive, designed to make you to bring information into the code editor so that you don't have to compile, excuse me, so that you don't have to compile, you don't have to build before you get to see the problems that are in your code there. We'll find the problems quickly, and we use Alt-Enter to very quickly rewrite that code and navigate around. So please download Rider, give it a go with your project today, and let us know how you get on. Thank you for watching.
はい、いかがでしたでしょうか。これからはですね、クイズと Q&A の方に移りたいと思います。で、冒頭でもご紹介しましたけれども、クイズが、2問あります。で、1問目はですね、YouTube の、チャット欄で回答を募集します。2問目は Twitter で回答を募集します。で、正解した方にはですね、1名の方に、ライダーの個人向けサブスクリプションが提供されますので、ぜひご参加ください。それではですね、クイズ第1問ですね。でこちらは、YouTube のチャット欄でお答えください。はい、クイズ1問目。Unity Engine 1を使用した最初のゲームがリリースされたのは何年でしょうか？ A、B、C、D でお答えください。A、1998年。B、1980年。2000年。C、2000年。D、1990年。さて、どれでしょうか？ちょっとしばらく待ちますかね。Unreal Engine 1を使用した最初のゲームがリリースされたのは何でしょうか？ A、B、C、D でお答えください。
That's a tricky question. I don't know the answer to that one.
マットも知らない。ちょっとはい、答えてくれた方が一人いましたね。で、ちょっと、回答。はい。次もちょっと難しい質問かもしれないです。初期のプレイステーションデブキットで提供されたフットペダルの規定の動作は、初期のプレイステーションデブキットで提供されたフットペダルの規定の動作は、次の ABCD でお答えください。A、ゲームの中断、電源の入れ直し、ターボモードの有効化、スロー化学ディスクモードの有効化。これもちょっとさっぱり私はわかりませんが、わかりましたら、ツイッターの方で、お答えください。こっちの方はちょっと後で見ますので、Q&A の方にちょっと進みたいと 思います。はい。でですね、質問がですね、今、1件、いただいておりますので、まずそちらの方からですね、お答えしていけばと思います。で、質問が、おかずさんからいただいた質問なんですけれども、ライダーからアンリアル側用のクラスをもとに C++ ヘダーファイルを使う機能が便利でよく使っているのですが、選べるクラスが少ないので困る時があります。で、こちらが追加される予定がありますでしょうかということで、ライダーにアンリアルエンジン側用のその C++ とかヘダーファイルを追加する、これ、どうやらファイルテンプレートの機能なんですけれども、こちらのちょっとカスタマイズの方法について、マットから紹介してもらえればと思います。So, Matt, can you demo about file template features and how we can add or customize file templates for Unreal files?
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah, so here's my screen now, and I'm using a dark theme. I've been using a light theme during the demo, but here's a dark theme, and also new UI. So we have in the last version released a preview of our new user interface, and it's just a bit cleaner and nicer. So let me show you what we can do here. You can add a new file, such as add Unreal class. And that gives you some items which you can choose, but you can add your own as well there. If we go to settings,
このセッティングのところですね。
file templates, we can see there's a section for Unreal Engine. And so we can edit these ourselves and we can add our own. So we can have a character and we can add, my new character. And that will be created when you create a new one. Or you can create a new item here as well and create something from new. This is new. And if you add in something in the group here, which is Unreal class, then it will appear in the same pop-up that you get. So if we save that, and if we do new, Unreal class, I didn't give it a name, sorry. No name. Default file name, new text, something new. We do something new, Unreal class, we should now have something new listed down there for us. And I can now create a new file, and it'll create a new file with my text values there. So you can create your own and edit the existing ones.
Thank you very much. はい。カズさんの質問に対しては、この Unreal Engine ファイルですね、これを追加するっていうので、バリエーションが少ないので足せますかということで、ファイルテンプレートのところで、追加できますと。で、もしですね、今これカスタマイズできるという話をしたんですけれども、もしこういう、コメントでもいただいているように、コモンクラスとか、あとは、コメントでいただいてましたね。そういうこれはよく使うパターンだから、例えばブループリントファンクションライブラリとか、基本的なものを用意されていると嬉しいということで、こういう一覧とかですね、そういうサジェスションとかが、提言とかいただけましたら、ライダーとかは、機能の追加とか、そういう U-Track っていうジェットブレインズのシステム、課題管理システムで、フィーチャーリクエスト、機能追加要求もいただけますし、ちょっといろんな形でフィードバックいただければ、この規定の元からあるバリエーションを増やすことができると思いますので、ぜひフィードバックください。So I just share about, our user can create a feature request for us, and we can enrich the default supported templates.
That's a great idea. Any feature requests you have, please let us know. We'd love to make things better.
はい、ありがとうございます。ではですね、次、質問が他にありますかね。特にないようでしたら、ちょっと今回のウェビナーが、 英語圏の、時間帯向けでもやっていて、その中で僕いただいた質問もあるので、ちょっと、時間があるので、紹介していければと思います。はい。So, we'd like to cover some question we had in advance or a previous webinar. And I have a question about new features, like recently added features for Unreal support. So can you share some new features you think it's cool?
Of course, yes. The video was recorded before we released the new version in December, so there have been some new features. The
So
first
今回
one,
の
sorry.
let me, yes, add some comments in Japanese here.
うん
今回紹介したデモが、今の最新バージョンの一つ前の内容だったので、ちょっとその今の最新版で、追加されている機能を、いくつか紹介したいと思います。Yeah, so please introduce. Cool.
Yeah, thank you. The first one is a nice, a really useful one. If you have the editor running and you want to attach the debugger, then you can go off and you can try and find how to debug the game there and attach the debugger. But we've added an easy way of doing that with this attached to Unreal Editor, and you just click that item. We already know what the process is, so we can then add the debugger for you. So we can. We also have changed the way some of the blueprints work. So you can see now when a function is being used in a blueprint, it shows you how many times it's being used. And so it's an easy way to find when your code is being used inside blueprints.
So where can I see how many used?
Let's go and find some of that. So if I go to, I think it's in shooter character.
今このブループリントサポートの方も少し機能が追加されていて、その使用されている頻度みたいなものも見れるようになった。
So here, for example, we've got the isRunning function is being used in 2 blueprint usages, and we can click that and we can see where it's being used.
はい、ここで紹介しているように、isRunning っていうのが2箇所のブループリントでの使用がありますというのを、ここで見れますと。
And another nice feature is we can work with rename of functions as well. So if I rename this to is running fast, then Rider will rename this in my code files, but it will also add a core redirect so that it doesn't break my blueprints. So if I then save that, if I just look in source control, we can see I've got my default engine ini. It's added a core redirect from isRunning to isRunning fast. So my blueprints keep working.
ライダーの方で関数、メソッド名を変更すると、リダイレクトファイルっていうんですか、ブループリントとの関係を、指定しているファイルの方も、変えてくれると。なので、ブループリントとコード側の依存関係がリネームしたことによって壊れないというのが追加されていると。Okay. Do you have anything else, or can I move to?
A nice quick one. We can do generate GUID. It's now got the Unreal format in there as well. So it's just a nice, quick, easy way to get a GUID in Unreal format.
この Generate GUID GUID っていう機能が、これが追加、Unreal のフォーマットで、追加されるようになりましたと。Okay, thank you very much. So let's move on to the next. Are there any? Okay, so we're done. So I have a question on like Rider support for Unreal Engine and Unity. So Matt, you like worked the both platform, and
Yes.
yeah, do you see any like difference or your comments on
Yeah,
Rider
so
support
Rider supports both Unreal and Unity, and there are differences because they are different game engines, but there's a lot of similarities as well. There's a lot of things that are kind of the same. So in Unreal, we support blueprints, and we can see where your code is being used and the serialized data. And in Unity, we do the same. I'll pause for you, sorry.
まあ、アンリアルエンジンと、ライダーのアンリアルエンジンサポートと、ユニティサポート、先週ユニティ特集だったので、その違いがありますかということなんですけども、もちろん対象としている、僕同じ感想を持ったんですけども、対象としているゲームエンジンは違うんですけれども、例えば、アンリアルエンジンのそのブループリントサポートっていうんですか、そのブループリントの方もインデックスして、その使用箇所とか、そういうのを見るっていうサポートが、アンリアルエンジン、今日ご紹介しましたけども、ユニティの方でも、同じような機能があったので、そのアンリアルエンジンとユニティというゲームエンジンは違えど、同じ機能があるというのは面白い一つのポイントかなと思います。So do you have anything else?
Yeah, and also Unreal and Unity both have a view of the log, so you can see the log that the game or the engine creates while you're working. And we can also support unit tests in Unreal and in Unity so that you can test your game and your code.
この、ログ連携っていうんですか、その、アンリアルエンジンエディター側のログが、ライダーの方に、複製されてきて見えるとか、あと、単体テスト、ユニットテストサポートを行っているっていうのも、そのどちらのゲームエンジンのサポートに対しても共通していることですと。
And we can support play mode in both Unreal and Unity as well. So I can click a button in the Rider toolbar, and that will start play mode in the editor. Yep, as it's busy.
そのライダー側から、実際そのゲームエンジンのエディターの方のゲームを実行させることができるっていうのも、同じような機能がありますと。
But one thing which Unity does better, unfortunately, is debugging of consoles and devices. So this is something we want to improve with Rider and Unreal, but we need support from the console vendors for that. So please speak to your representatives of the consoles and let them know, give them feedback that you'd like to see better console support in Rider.
一点ですね、今のそのライダーのサポート、どちらもユニティもアンリアルエンジンもそのデバッグの機能はサポートしているんですけれども、デバッグという観点では、ユニティの方がそのコンソール、実際にそのゲーム環境のサポートが今のところは充実しているっていう印象がマットがあるっていうことですね。で、こういうコンソールゲーム機とのその連携っていうのは我々だけができるものではないので、もしこのデバッグのこの連携っていうんですかね、そういうものをこのライダー経由でもうまく使ってみたいという方はですね、ぜひゲーム開発者の視点でゲーム作られている方がコンソールベンダー、コンソール作られている方にフィードバックしていただくと、より我々としてもサポートしやすくなるかなと思いますと。So I got one question, and the question is there any way to share file template across team?
Yes. So if we go into our settings with our Unreal Engine and create a new template, another new template, and this is another new one. Down here where you've got save, if you click that, let's just move this over a bit. If you click that, you can save it to team shared, and that will save it to a .settings file, which you can check into source control and share with the whole team.
Okay, thank you very much. 今の質問がですね、小鳥さんからファイルテンプレートで作成したものはチームで共有する方法があるのでしょうかということなんですけども、この、ソリューションシューターゲームティームシェアド、このセーブって保存ボタンのところでティームシェアドっていうのを選ぶと、ドットセッティングスって、設定ファイルに、書き出されて、それを、構成管理とかバージョン管理システムで、共有すればチーム間でシェアできるということです。Thank you very much. So is there anything else you want to, or yeah, if you have something and we can pick up a couple.
We had a question previously about how to go to symbols defined in the game engine, which is a useful one.
ゲームエンジンで定義されているシンボルに、そのジャンプする方法っていうのが以前の、ウェビナーであったので、それをちょっと紹介したいと思います。So please go ahead.
Yeah, this is a nice, easy one. It's the same as if you want to go to a symbol in your own code, such as a character, you can just click on that, control click on that, and it will navigate you there, and it will take you to where it's being used. Same with like a pawn, and you can just navigate around, just like you with your own code.
この、ライダーの環境で、先ほどここで出ている A アクターとか A 本とか、こういったもの、その、Unreal エンジンのコードにもジャンプして、その中を見れたりとか、どこで使われているかっていうのを、調べることができますと。Okay. So, thank you very much. And maybe we can move on to the closing.
Sure thing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So we got the last question. The question is from Rider. Is it possible to run console command?
I'm not sure what is meant by console commands there. We have a terminal which can give you the terminal view there, and you can run commands from there. But if it's for consoles like Xbox and PlayStation, right now we don't have that. And again, please speak to your representatives to give them the feedback that we'd like to work with the consoles.
Okay, thank you very much. 質問はライダーからコンソールコマンドを実行することはできますかってことなんですけども、このターミナル、OS のターミナルってことだったらできるんですけれども、ゲームコンソールに対するコマンド実行っていうのは今のところできないので、そこはゲームコンソールとの連携が必要になるので、もし、そういう機能があると便利とか、ぜひ欲しいということであれば、ゲームコンソールの開発されている方にも、ご要望を上げていただいて、それで私たちの方も同じようにゲームコンソールベンダーの方と協業しながら、対応していければと思います。なので現在は、サポートしてないんですけれども、こういうのを進めていくためにはちょっと、会社間を超えた協業が必要ですということですね。Okay. So, yeah, thank you very much. And, はい。So, there was an additional comment about the console command, and yeah, that Okazu-san said, on Unreal Engine, there's a console command to run some debug command or change setting on
Okay, so
Unreal Engine.
yeah, my game has stopped, so I can't go over there. One thing we have, which I can't, I don't think I have it installed. We have a plugin called Easy Args. Let me just see if I have this. No, so we have a plugin called Easy Args, which adds a text box to the toolbar so that when you are trying to run your game, you can add extra command arguments. I'm not sure if that's the same thing, but that is a useful plugin for when you want to add command line arguments when you're running your game. But we don't have sort of any sort of integration with other commands inside Unreal.
今の回答とした EasyArgs っていうプラグインで、実行時のいろんな、なんでしょうね、実行引数とかを渡すことができるっていうのはあるんですけれども、それ以外のものだったらちょっと今は対応してないかもしれないですね。Okay, so the customer say yes, they will try EasyArg anyway. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's move on to the closing. それではですね、たくさんの質問ありがとうございました。これで、本日のセッションは以上になります。で、ライダーに関する情報はですね、いろんなもの、ライダーのウェブサイト、日本語になっています。で、あとは、ライダーチームのツイッターとかですね、あと、ここに出ているブログとか、JetBrains TV、YouTube の JetBrains TV の方でも、いろんなライダーの関連のセミナーをやっているので、ご覧いただければと思います。で、最後に、ご紹介なんですけれども、次回はですね、2月の16日ですね。で、こっちは Unity に関するものなんですけれども、ライダーフローっていう、製品、ツールのご紹介になりますので、興味のある方はぜひ、ご参加ください。はい。本日のセッションは以上になります。ご参加ありがとうございました。また次回もよろしくお願いします。
Thank you. Bye bye.